it's that Quinn Jack thing again, right? So, slight change to the programme you might have in front of you. Originally, I was looking at doing this with a colleague, Linda Gemmell from Volvo, where we were going to give the output of her Quinn Jack committee as well as mine. Unfortunately, Linda can't be with us today, which is good news for you in one way and bad news in another. The good news is it means this presentation is going to be a little bit shorter. The bad news is, like all double acts, where there's a straight one and a funny one, unfortunately, Linda was the funny one. So you've got me instead. So, who am I? I'm Simon Day. My day job is as Regional General Manager of Hanson Aggregates Northern Region business. I've been in the quarrying industry since 1985. When I joined, I worked at Mount Sorrel Quarry for Redland as a part-time summer work experience job with a view that I would do something else after that. 30 years later, like many of us, we got caught by the bug of quarrying and we're still here and loving every minute of it. So, that's my day job. My other job is I act as chair of the Quinn Jack Plant Safety Committee. So, what am I going to present to you today? Before I start, if we're honest, probably there's one or two people in the room feeling a little bit like our man sat on the park bench. I think the science tells you, and the scientists will tell you that this time of day, about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, just after lunch, there's the official graveyard slot. And if half of you are feeling like that now, I think the statistics say by about 2 o'clock, the rest of you will be too. So my mission this afternoon is to try and stop you nodding off and leave you coming away with a good impression of Quinn Jack and what it's all about. So, moving on. So, objective of the presentation today. Really, what I'm looking to do is give you a good overview of what the Plant Safety Committee is working on at the minute, but really just bang the drum for Quinn Jack once again and give you a better idea of just how Quinn Jack works. Importantly, what you need to know, not what's just good for you to know, but what you need to know about Quinn Jack and why you need to get on board with Quinn Jack. And also, hopefully, a plea as well for you to see what you can do for Quinn Jack and really sell Quinn Jack to you as a two-way thing. Something you can do for the organisation and Quinn Jack can give back to the industry. So what I'd be keen to do at the end as well is, rather than just a straightforward question and answer session, is spend a bit of time really trying to get some feedback from yourselves. You've heard a lot about Quinn Jack today, and get some feedback from yourselves about how you think Quinn Jack can best serve the industry. Because at the end of the day, Quinn Jack is, as Roy said at the start, Quinn Jack is ours, right? It's ours. So, Plant Safety Work Group. A little bit at the sort of scope and the membership. In terms of remit of what the Plant Safety Group looks at, well, really, it's quite a wide remit. It's really anything to do with safety involving fixed and mobile plant in the quarry environment. So you appreciate that covers quite a wide scope of things. So there's quite an opportunity there to look at a lot of things. So in terms of current membership, we've got about 12 people, regulars on the committee, from a range of businesses and a range of expertise within the industry. So there's myself as chairman. We have, like all the committees, I think there are 8 or 9 of them active at the moment. There is an HSE inspector who is allocated to each committee as well. We've got Simon Edwards on ours. And there are 3 representatives from quarry operators. You'll notice none of those there are from majors. So it's not just something that's a big 5 dominated thing. You know, there's the points of view from throughout the industry and not just the views of 1 or 2 big companies. We've got a representative from one of the quarry services contractor, a drilling and blasting, a crushing and screening contractor from Banners to get a contractor's viewpoint in. And we've got representatives from plant manufacturers, as you'd expect. And we've also got some trainers, some people from training organisations. So it's a good spread. The one thing that we are running short on at the minute, and probably it's an oversight that we're now trying to address, is that we don't actually have any direct workforce representatives on that committee. Now, if you cast your mind back to the whole aims of Quinn Jack at the start, was to have, it was a tripartite thing. So it was the inspectorate, it was the operators and suppliers and the workforce. Now, why haven't we got a workforce representative on the group? Well, part of it is actually finding somebody and finding some people who are prepared to put the name in the hat and come and join us. So one of the things I'm hoping to get out of this today is hopefully people can go away and think of a few names or some people within their business who might benefit from, who might benefit the committee, would also benefit themselves in terms of the development opportunity that gives them. So hopefully that will be something that comes out today as well. So if we look at what the plant safety work has been working on recently, so as I said, the group meets probably 2 or 3 times a year, but we also have a number of subgroups that work under the auspices of the thing to come out with specific guidance. So recent outputs from the group, there's a guidance on vehicle management in quarries, which is effective. It's a rework of the CoalPro guidance, which was produced after the Pennyvenny double fatality. We've got there's various things on guidance on mobile jaw crushers and various check sheets and things for mobile plant. Now, I'm not going to go through the list because it's a big long list. The best way is actually just go on the website and have a look yourselves. There's all sorts of things. It's there for free download on QNJAC.co or through Safe Quarry. What I will go back to is the Pennyvenny one. Now, I'm hoping that most people in the room are familiar with Pennyvenny and some of the learnings that came from that. So my plea to you is, if you take nothing else out of this presentation today, is take the time to go onto Quinn Jack, go onto Safe Quarry, look up everything you can about Pennyvenny, right? Because I promise you there are big learnings for everybody. I know from Hanson's own experience when we made some we made some changes in how we did things and controlled small vehicles on site that I'm absolutely convinced have prevented that kind of incident happening in our business, right? So, like I say again, I'm not ashamed to say it again, have a look at Pennyvenny again. Some of you may have had a look at it a couple of years ago when there was a big push with, I think there was a big thing through all the institute and to try and share some knowledge on Pennyvenny, but please go in and have another look at that one. So that's the things we're working on at the minute. So I have but their outputs that are on the system now. There's obviously a few bits of key work in progress at the moment as well. So there's some work on a guidance on electrical safety in quarries, some stuff on mobile crushing and screening guarding standards, and some pedestrian safety stuff. So if you look at, first of all, the electrical safety in quarries, I think Roy mentioned it earlier on. One of the key things that Quinn Jack guidance will be doing is taking over from some of the historical HSE publications. So we're very close to publishing, should be in January, February of next year, a new guidance note on electrical safety in quarries and having a framework to give all operators the information they need to ensure that they're compliant with the needs of the requirements of the quarries regs. So the document itself, like a lot of Quinn Jack documents, has been developed by people from the industry. So we've got 3 senior electrical engineers from within this industry and the help of a senior former Her Majesty's Principal Inspector Principal Electrical Inspector. So there's some quality people been in there who've looked at it and have made sure we've got something that is fit for the needs of our industry and meets the needs of our regulatory requirements as well. So I urge you to take a look at that when it comes out. As I said before, it will replace the HSE publication. That will be withdrawn, and this will be the standard document. And again, this is one, it's not a case of this is nice to know, have a look if you feel like it. You need to know this. You need to be aware of the contents of this, because when a quarry inspector rocks up at your site a year from now, they will have a copy of this in their, on their Quinn Jack app or maybe even a piece of paper but they will refer to that. And the expectation is that whatever you're doing on your quarry will have to meet that standard. Now, it's not regulation, and you can do something different if you want. But if something goes wrong, the situation would be that you'd be trying to explain to a judge why what you the thing you were doing that was different to the Quinn Jack guidance was justified and was appropriate. And I'm sure our legal friend would tell us that's a big ask sometimes. Absolutely right. So again, some of the things that are different to it is an updating of the regs. It also tries to modernise things as well to try and make allowance for the fact that the changes in the industry and the equipment we're using, particularly the use of diesel electric and even plug-in diesel electric equipment, is becoming more and more prevalent on the sites we operate. So that's electrical safety. So next one is we're doing some work on guarding of mobile crushing and screening plant. Again, a big change within the industry over the last 10 or 15 years has been a massive increase in the use of mobile crushing and screening equipment. Much of it supplied to us via contractors on subcontract basis. Now, we're doing some work on this at the moment, really because we've had push from both sides. We've got quarry operators telling us contractors are coming on site with mobile crushing plant that we don't think meets the standard. We think, and we're having to ask them to retrofit guards and do this and do that. And we've got contractors saying we're taking pieces of kit on site that are perfectly okay on one site, and then we're being asked to put extra guards and make expensive and impractical and sometimes unneeded modifications to the pieces of equipment. So what we're trying to do is create a simple standard that people can look back to and a reference document that a guidance document people can look back to. Now, hopefully what we'll do with this, well, we'll definitely do, is try and make use of the technology that we've talked about earlier, things like the app, the smartphone app, those kind of things, so that the things are very much a pictorial thing. Just example pictures at the bottom there. Rather than have reams of writing saying this and this is the standard, pictures tell 1,000 words. And the ability for, the way I would envisage it being used, contractors on site discussing with a quarry manager the piece of kit that's just been delivered onto the site. They might be having a bit of a dispute over, is the guarding on that conveyor good enough, not good enough? Within a couple of minutes, they can flick up the app, flick through some pictures, and actually come to a reasonable agreement on whether it is or it isn't. And it just gives people a point of reference to do away with some of the crazy things that are happening on site. So that's something for the first quarter of next year. Again, aimed at the newer technologies and make it simple. Which moves me on to the last thing. This is probably the key piece of work that we're going to do this year. We're working on it now, and we hope by the middle of the year to have some good output on this. Now, sadly, like the Penaveni incident, the double fatality at Penaveni, this piece of work has been prompted by a tragic incident, right? And the tragic incident, and again, it's pertinent that we're here today in the last week of November, because exactly 2 years ago this weekend, Les Hole, who was the quarry foreman at Burford Quarry in Oxfordshire, was killed at work. He was run over by one of his colleagues driving a 966 loading shovel on a bright, sunny Saturday morning, and by a friend and colleague. Obviously, a tragic incident for Les's family. He was a family man and a long-standing employee of the business. Les, typical of the guys that work in our business. 52 years old, that's probably about average age. I think most of us would agree that's about the power age in our industry at the minute. Average employee, long-serving, loyal employee, 24, 25 years with the business, worked his way through to foreman the business, tragically killed when, run over by a colleague. Now, you ask yourself, well, how can that happen? How can that happen in a modern quarry environment? How can, on a bright sunny morning, a man be run over and killed by a loading shovel? Wasn't reversed, he ran over him forwards. We'll never really know exactly how it happened, why it happened. But what we're looking at is saying, well, what can we learn from this in the way of Penaveni and actually do things different within our quarries? So the key things of this, we've got a subgroup working on this within the team, and we're working very closely with the quarry operator where this tragedy happened, because they're very, very keen to be involved in this as well. So there's work to be done with them. So in terms of outputs, what we're looking to have, there'll be pretty much a conventional report with a conventional guidance document, just stating really all the key just as a key reminder and a key aid to remind us which elements of legislation and what we have to do to physically comply with the regulations. That's the pretty standard stuff. So there'll be that there. What we're aiming at as well is a best practice guide. Again, a pictorial focus thing on pulling together examples from the industry of the best practice in terms of traffic management and pedestrian management. Now, I've said there, the focus really is taking pedestrian safety beyond the car park. Now, the reason I say that, if you go around a lot of our sites in the industry, you'll actually think often a lot of work's been done in the last 10 or 15 years in terms of when you first arrive at a site. We're actually now a lot better than we were in terms of directing people to the right place, having parking areas that are segregated from heavy vehicles, pedestrian walkways to the office. And to be fair, the industry's come a long way in that, and I think a lot of us have put a lot of effort in. Things start to fall down a little bit when as I say, go beyond the car park. Once you get out onto the site, then things are maybe not quite as good as we would like, and there's a lot of room for improvement. So the focus is going to be on examples rather than just a load of pictures of nice tidy car parks with painted lines on the floor. Real practical ways of keeping people and heavy equipment apart from each other. And then obviously another element to this is going to be a toolbox talk. So the toolbox talk is going to be aimed at increasing the perception of risk of operators and staff on our sites. Now, the reason I say perception of risk is one of the issues we've got is we're so used to working around heavy, large machinery flying around on our haul roads that we don't see the hazards anymore. And it's a common thing with a lot of accidents that we see throughout the industry is a lot of it comes down to perception of risk. So the work we're going to be doing then in terms of toolboxes is raising that perception. The kind of things we're looking at are just, trying to use novel ideas of trying to get people to think differently. There are lots of times where if you asked an operator if he was walking down the side of a haul road where heavy dump trucks are operating on, would he say that's safe? 9 out of 10 times the guys would say, yeah, we do that every day. He can see me, I can see him, I keep out of the way. If you said to that same operator, if you were walking down that haul road with your 3-year-old grandson, carrying your arms or walking with him, would that be safe? And they would say, no, of course not. Of course it wouldn't be safe, because something could hit him and whatever. But again, it's that perception of risk. We sort of, a lot of guys you talk to will almost assume the high-vis clothing they're wearing is a suit of armour, and we all know it isn't. So again, it's raising that. So target for publication of that is Q2 2016, and hopefully, again, that will encourage people to think differently about how they handle pedestrians on site. And again, like Peniveni, people make step changes to what they do to reduce the chance of this. Okay, so that's the output of the that's what the group's working on. I'll just give you a flavour of the kind of things we're doing. So really now, sort of go on to the sort of questions and feedback really. So first of all, any direct questions from the floor? Must have got one or two. Okay. Well,
will the electrical
yeah.
guidance be put out like the quarry face guidance? Could you do that as a workshop that went around the country, perhaps?
If people believe it might be a little bit of a dry subject for that one, but it's something we could consider, I suppose. Yes, it would be worth considering. Yes. I mean, perhaps it's something maybe perhaps if the branches, the IOQ branches, have a think about that one and think it's something that they would benefit from, then we'll perhaps we could do that one. Any more? Okay. So just, we've talked about Quinn Jack. We've got a little bit of time. So we've talked about Quinn Jack a lot today, and really. I'm interested in feedback from people as to whether they think Quinn Jack is actually focused on the correct areas to drive this, to enhance this drive for zero harm. Has anybody got any thoughts on whether we're looking at the right things from the things you've seen today in the other groups? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you know, we all in management don't need too much convincing, but
Yeah.
I wonder about the workforce. Are you getting it out, the message out to the workforce? You've got Hillhead coming around the corner.
Yeah.
Is that not a great opportunity for you to publicise more of what Quinn Jack is doing?
Well, I think you say the management know, but if you remember at the start of today, I think Roy did a show of hands, or who's heard of Quinn Jack, and there weren't that many hands went up. Now there may be a few shy there. So if the penetration to the management teams here at the thing today is 20% at best, I would imagine the penetration level at the moment down to the average man in a quarry is a heck of a lot less than that, you know. So part of the things that they're trying to do, as you've seen with Mike and the Quinn Jack app and those kind of things, is to try and raise the profile. But we'll not get to those guys by bypassing you. You know, the people in this room today, what you've got to do is take hold of Quinn Jack. Quinn Jack is yours. You've got to start using it yourself. You've got to start looking at, so you've got to start challenging your managers to say, have you seen this? Have you looked at that? Have you looked at that guidance? Are we following this? That's what we've got to keep reference to it and raise that profile of it. And I think everybody in the room's got a responsibility to do that. Because at the end of the day, you know, Quinn Jack is about, it's about, you know, it works on the basis of, Roy said experts in these committees. I wouldn't necessarily say experts, but what I would say is committed quarrying professionals who have a passion for health and safety, who are willing to commit their time and effort into moving safety forward just that little bit at a time. Right. So it needs, the lifeblood of it is people giving that enthusiasm and trying to use the good work we're trying to do. And if people think maybe some of the guidance could be better, then come and join. Come and join. Every committee, there's no shortage of, you know, we'll not say no to anybody who wants to come and contribute. Any more? So again, as I said, you know, what I'm asking, you know, each and every one of you is, could you commit some of your time to a Quinn Jack committee? Is there a particular element of safety that you feel you've got something to give? It might even be something as simple as, you know, I said before, we're putting together a best practice guide on pedestrian safety in quarries. If there's something on one of your sites that's good and worth showing people, well, get some photos, send us a photo. We can include it if it's right. We'll include it in the guidance. Again, if there's something you've got one of your sites that's particularly bad, again, it'd be great to see a photo of it. And I'm not saying we obviously wouldn't name and shame, but pictures showing what good looks like and what poor looks like are absolutely critical to make these things work. So the more the merrier. So again, I'm throwing it back at you guys. That's what we need. And all the committees and all the things to do need that. Have you got somebody working for you, you know, an employee working for you that you think would benefit from being involved in a Quinn Jack project? Because I can assure you there can be great things to be involved in. So in terms of career development and that, you know. I mean, just little things. I mean, why do I do it? Obviously, it's part because I've got a passion for improving the business we work in, and I see it as part of my responsibility as a professional person in this industry, but also because it gives you other opportunities. You know, if the only time you ever sit down with a quarry inspector is when he comes to your site to grill you about an incident that's happened or do an inspection or something of that time, you're not going to get as much out of it as I'll get or people on these committees will get with sitting down with a quarry inspector in the forum, a Quinn Jack forum, discussing safety issues in an open forum. So I think I've probably tried to. I've banged the drum enough, and I hope I haven't overflogged it. But please, Quinn Jack is yours. You know, it needs your input. It needs you to take the outputs as well. Thank you very much.